Have you ever wondered how good people can become monsters? What lies beneath the surface of our morality? The thin line between exemplary behavior and lurking darkness is a moral abyss many of us teeter on every day. It's crucial to explore the depths of our own conscience as we confront the potential for moral failure that exists in each of us. Before we continue, subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated on content that can transform your spiritual journey. Confronting the moral abyss means acknowledging that within the best of us exists the capacity for darkness. It's about asking hard questions. What happens when we are pushed to our limits? How do we react under pressure? Whether in moments of temptation, fear, or authority, the choices we make reveal the true nature of our character. It pushes us to introspect and realize that the battle between good and evil is often fought within ourselves. We must recognize that the moral abyss is not just a distant concept. It lurks in everyday situations, waiting for the right circumstances to emerge. By shining a light on this abyss, we cultivate awareness about the small steps we can take to maintain our integrity. Each of us holds the power to decide which side we embrace, the compassionate or the cruel. Let's engage in this exploration, as confronting our potential for darkness is the first step towards enlightenment and ethical living. The temptation of normality is a deceptive force that draws us toward complacency in our moral behavior. It often begins with small, seemingly harmless actions, such as justifying a minor lie or ignoring a friend in need. These subtle transgressions pave the way for more significant ethical violations as they chip away at our self-image of being fundamentally good. We rationalize these choices by thinking, it's just one small thing, but each compromise nudges us further from our moral compass. Consider a workplace scenario where gossip becomes the norm. At first, it might seem harmless, just sharing opinions about a colleague. Yet, this trivial behavior gradually fosters an environment where judgment and negativity flourish. In these instances, the boundaries of acceptable conduct blur, leading us to overlook the impact of our words. We slowly morph into participants of a culture that condones judgment and cruelty, betraying our self-perception as the good individuals we once were. This journey down the slippery slope of normality is common and dangerous. It beckons us to accept mediocrity in our moral standards. However, by recognizing these small transgressions as threats to our integrity, we empower ourselves to resist the pull of normality. It's essential to actively reflect on our actions and challenge ourselves to uphold our values, no matter how trivial the circumstances may seem. In doing so, we reclaim our narrative as individuals committed to goodness, avoiding the path that leads to moral decay. The story of Ivan Fredrik exemplifies how ordinary individuals can become perpetrators of cruelty under specific environmental pressures. Once a respected soldier, Fredrik underwent a profound transformation that revealed the shocking effects of situational factors on moral behavior. His journey from civility to inhumanity serves as a stark reminder that we are not immune to the influences of our surroundings, particularly in high-stress or emotionally charged contexts. Fredrik's descent into cruelty began when he was placed in a position of authority during a troubling conflict. Surrounded by a culture that normalized harsh treatment of others, he gradually became desensitized to the suffering of those around him. With each action taken and each rule bent, the moral lines blurred significantly. The environment he found himself in exacerbated pre-existing biases, leading him to justify his involvement in behaviors that countered both ethical norms and his own previous values. This transformation underscores the alarming reality that our morals can be reshaped by our surroundings. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the systems that influence our decisions. Understanding this dynamic empowers us to cultivate environments that uphold compassion rather than cruelty. By being aware of the powerful interplay between environment and morality, we equip ourselves to resist negative influences, ensuring our humanity remains intact regardless of external pressures. The belief in a fixed identity can be a dangerous illusion that limits our understanding of human behavior. Many of us hold on to the idea that our character traits are unchangeable, defining who we are in a rigid manner. However, this perception neglects the powerful influence of situational factors that continuously shape our actions and attitudes. reality teaches us that we are much more fluid and adaptable than we often acknowledge. Situational factors such as our environment, relationships, and stress levels profoundly affect how we respond to challenges. For example, a usually kind person may act harshly in a high-pressure work environment, revealing that their behavior can be significantly affected by external stimuli. These shifts in character highlight the complexity of moral decision-making and suggest that our identity is not an immutable trait, but rather a tapestry woven from our experiences and contexts. Recognizing the illusion of immutable character encourages us to embrace growth and change. It underscores the importance of self-awareness, as we begin to understand that we are capable of both good and bad behaviors depending on the circumstances we find ourselves in. By acknowledging this fluidity, we empower ourselves to choose wisely, reinforcing the values we wish to embody. Ultimately, the path to a better self is rooted in our ability to adapt and learn, rather than in a static conception of who we are. The Milgram experiment stands as one of psychology's most disturbing studies, demonstrating how ordinary people can commit harmful acts when subjected to authority pressure. Conducted in the early 1960s, this landmark experiment revealed unsettling truths about human nature and obedience. Participants, believing they were part of a study on learning, were instructed to administer increasingly severe electric shocks to a confederate after each incorrect answer, illustrating the lengths individuals would go to in obedience to authority. The findings were shocking. A significant majority of participants continued to deliver shocks, even when they could hear the Confederates' cries of pain. This behavior challenges our self-perception and moral integrity, illustrating how situational dynamics can overshadow individual ethics. Ordinary individuals, driven by their perceptions of duty and compliance, were willing to inflict harm, raising critical questions about just how far we might go when ordered by someone in a position of authority. The Milgram experiment acts as a cautionary tale, highlighting the fragility of our moral frameworks in the face of external pressures. It exposes the vulnerability of our humanity and serves as a reminder that ethical behavior often demands courage, especially when confronting authority figures. By reflecting on this experiment, we can cultivate a deeper understanding of the moral complexities we face and the necessity to maintain personal accountability in a world where obedience can sometimes lead to devastating consequences. The Stanford Prison experiment unveiled the chilling reality of how quickly good people can descend into cruelty when placed in specific roles. Conducted by psychologist Philip Zimbardo in 1971, the study aimed to explore the psychological effects of perceived power within a simulated prison environment. In a matter of days, participants assigned as guards began to exhibit abusive behaviors towards those playing prisoners, demonstrating a shocking transformation that startled not only the researchers, but also the broader community. What makes this experiment particularly significant is its portrayal of situational influences on human behavior. The guards, who began with no predisposition to violence, found themselves adopting authoritarian and sadistic roles, blinded by the power dynamics inherent in the environment. The rapid deterioration of compassion among the participants revealed how easily societal roles can provoke aggression and suppress individual morality, forcing us to question the stability of our ethical frameworks when confronted with authority and power. Zimbardo's findings initiated a critical dialogue about the responsibilities of individuals within systems of power and the dark potential each of us carries. This experiment serves as a stark reminder that the circumstances we find ourselves in can drastically reshape our actions and character. By examining the implications of the Stanford Prison experiment, we encourage a deeper reflection on our roles and responsibilities in any system, reinforcing the need to cultivate empathy and moral vigilance in the face of authority. The power of obedience can often lead to moral decay, revealing a troubling aspect of human behavior that has been witnessed throughout history. When individuals prioritize compliance over ethical considerations, they become susceptible to destructive influences that can facilitate unimaginable actions. This phenomenon can be traced back to notable historical events where blind obedience resulted in grave consequences, such as in totalitarian regimes and wartime atrocities where individuals committed heinous acts under the guise of following orders. One striking example of this obedience leading to moral failure can be observed in the events of World War II, particularly during the Holocaust. Many ordinary citizens carried out atrocious acts, justifying their actions through the lens of duty and obedience to authority figures. Such historical precedents underscore how the inclination to accept commands without question can create an environment of complicity, eroding individual moral judgment in favor of loyalty to the group or leadership. This deterioration of ethics poses serious questions about our responsibility when faced with instructions that conflict with our conscience. Recognizing the power of obedience serves as a crucial step in safeguarding ourselves against moral decline. It urges us to cultivate a critical mindset that questions authority and encourages independent thought. By fostering a culture of moral courage and empathy, we can resist the temptations of blind obedience, ensuring that our actions align with our values. Ultimately, the lessons drawn from history remind us of the importance of active reflection in our decisions, as it is the conscious choices we make that define our character in the face of authority. The erosion of personal responsibility is intricately linked to the concept of anonymity, which can lead individuals to detach from their actions and moral implications. In situations where people feel concealed or anonymous, accountability diminishes, creating a fertile ground for cruelty to flourish. This detachment fosters a dangerous mindset where individuals believe they can escape the consequences of their actions, allowing harmful behaviors to persist unchecked. Historical and contemporary incidents illustrate how anonymity can corrupt moral judgment. Online platforms, for example, have become breeding grounds for cyberbullying and toxic behavior, as users often hide behind screens, feeling liberated from accountability. This sense of invisibility prompts individuals to engage in actions they might never consider if their identities were known. The power of anonymity can dull our empathy and erode the sense of communal responsibility, enabling cruelty in environments where such behavior would typically be rejected. Reclaiming personal responsibility in the face of anonymity is essential for cultivating a more compassionate society. It begins with recognizing the human impact of our actions, regardless of the perceived safety of being anonymous. By fostering environments that emphasize accountability and awareness, we can combat the erosion of moral responsibility. Ultimately, insisting on personal responsibility helps pave the way toward creating a culture where kindness and empathy prevail over detachment and cruelty, empowering us to act with integrity in all situations. The impact of dehumanization is profound and dangerous, as it creates a pathway for justifying atrocities and eroding empathy. When individuals or groups are labeled as less than human, it becomes easier for others to rationalize harmful actions against them. This process strips away their identity and personhood, reducing them to mere objects or enemies that can be treated without regard for their suffering. This psychological barrier fosters a disconnection that permits cruelty to flourish unchecked. Historical events are rife with examples of dehumanization, illustrating how language and propaganda can distort perceptions of entire groups. During conflicts such as the Rwandan genocide and the Holocaust, the images and descriptions used to portray targeted groups served to diminish their humanity in the eyes of the oppressor. By depicting them as subhuman, those in power were able to galvanize support for horrific acts against them, leading individuals to partake in violence that they might otherwise deem unacceptable. The repercussions of such dehumanization ripple through societies, perpetuating cycles of hatred and suffering. Confronting the impact of dehumanization requires a commitment to empathy and understanding. Challenging dehumanizing language and advocating for the recognition of shared humanity can counteract these harmful narratives. When we consciously choose to see others as individuals worthy of dignity and respect, we fortify our moral compass against the justification of cruelty. Ultimately, the rejection of dehumanization is essential for nurturing a more compassionate world, where empathy takes precedence over division and hostility, fostering connections that can heal rather than harm. Manipulative language plays a critical role in obscuring moral horrors, providing a veil that allows individuals to reconcile harmful actions. Euphemistic language softens the reality of cruel intentions and actions, transforming horrifying concepts into more palatable terms. This linguistic manipulation often serves to distance individuals from the true nature of their actions, permitting them to engage in behavior that contradicts their moral beliefs without fully confronting the implications. For instance, terms like collateral damage are used to describe civilian casualties in warfare, stripping away the human cost and reducing it to a mere statistic. By employing euphemisms, societies can normalize and desensitize individuals to violence and suffering. This form of language distorts reality, allowing for a disconnect between actions and their moral consequences. The implication is that when confronted with a softer version of reality, people may find it easier to dismiss the severity of their choices, fostering a culture where atrocities become more acceptable. Recognizing and challenging manipulative language is essential for fostering a moral society. We must strive for clear and honest communication that does not shy away from the truth of our actions. By confronting euphemisms and insisting on direct discussions about the implications of our behavior, we cultivate awareness and accountability. Ultimately, to combat the obscuring effects of manipulative language, we must champion transparency and encourage dialogue that promotes empathy and ethical understanding, ensuring that we remain vigilant in our moral responsibilities. The choice for good amid darkness is a powerful testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Within each of us lies the potential for both light and shadow, yet we hold the capacity to choose our path. Acknowledging the presence of darkness does not define us. Instead, it empowers us to actively pursue goodness, highlighting the strength of our character in the face of adversity. In every situation, we are confronted with the decision to align our actions with values that promote compassion, kindness, and integrity. This choice becomes especially crucial when we find ourselves in challenging environments filled with negativity or despair. Even in the darkest moments, individuals are capable of rising above their circumstances, making deliberate choices that reflect their core values. For instance, stories of individuals who stand up against injustice, lend a hand to those in need, or offer forgiveness in the face of betrayal illustrate the possibility of choosing light over darkness. These acts empower us, reminding us that we do not have to be defined by our surroundings but rather by our responses to them. Fostering an awareness of our ability to choose goodness cultivates a sense of agency in our lives. By embracing this choice, we inspire others to do the same, creating a ripple effect of positivity in our communities. It is essential to recognize that while darkness is a part of the human experience, it is the conscious decision to pursue goodness that helps counteract that darkness. Ultimately, when we choose to act with compassion and integrity, we not only elevate ourselves but also contribute to the collective healing of the world around us. The nature of heroism is often defined by the courage to act in pivotal moments, distinguishing heroes from ordinary individuals. While many people may encounter situations that call for bravery, heroes rise above hesitation and fear, making choices that reflect their commitment to a greater good. This ability to transcend self-interest, even in the face of danger or adversity, encapsulates what it means to be heroic. It is not merely the achievement of great deeds, but the willingness to take action when it matters most. This courage manifests itself in various forms, from everyday acts of kindness to life-saving interventions during crises. A hero may be someone who stands up against injustice, speaks out in defense of the vulnerable, or sacrifices their own comfort for the well-being of others. These moments of bravery require not only strength, but also a deep understanding of one's values and the moral implications of inaction. By making profound choices in critical times, heroes inspire us to recognize our potential for courage, showing that anyone can embody heroism if they choose to act. Recognizing the nature of heroism invites every individual to reflect on their capacity for bravery and moral integrity. It challenges us to consider how we might respond in times of crisis and encourages proactive compassion in our daily lives. By understanding that heroism often arises from ordinary circumstances, we empower ourselves to embrace opportunities for courageous action. In doing so, we can all contribute to a culture of heroism, where standing up for what is right becomes a shared responsibility, igniting change in our communities and beyond. The duality of human nature highlights the inherent potential for both good and evil that resides within each individual. This internal conflict reflects our complex psychological makeup, where competing instincts and desires often vie for dominance. Acknowledging this duality is essential in understanding human behavior, as it reveals the perpetual struggle we face in choosing the moral path over the darker impulses that can lead to harm and suffering. Every day, we are presented with choices that can tilt us toward light or darkness. Situational factors, societal influences, and personal experiences play significant roles in shaping our decisions. The ongoing battle between empathy and selfishness, compassion and cruelty, illustrates how delicate the balance can be. When we recognize this duality, we empower ourselves to actively engage in the decision-making process, opting to nurture the qualities that contribute to our moral integrity rather than succumbing to negative tendencies. Understanding the duality of human nature encourages empathy towards ourselves and others. It reminds us that every individual grapples with this internal conflict, making mistakes while also possessing the capacity for growth and change. By fostering awareness of our own complexities, we can cultivate an environment that supports wise choices and promotes accountability. Ultimately, embracing the duality within us can lead to a more compassionate society, where individuals strive to elevate their better selves, creating a stronger collective conscience. Empowerment through awareness is key in navigating the moral complexities that define our human experience. By understanding the intricate interplay between our choices, environments, and inherent dualities, we gain the insight needed to recognize dark tendencies within ourselves and others. This awareness not only illuminates the struggles we face, but also provides us with the tools necessary to resist falling into destructive patterns. Instead of being passive observers of our behavior, we become active participants in shaping our moral destinies. This journey of self-discovery involves a continuous process of reflection and growth. As we confront the moral dilemmas that permeate our lives, we develop a heightened sense of responsibility towards our actions and their consequences. Awareness empowers us to challenge societal narratives that obscure moral truths, fostering a commitment to make choices rooted in empathy and integrity. By embracing this responsibility, we not only reshape our own character, but also influence those around us, instigating a ripple effect of positive change. Ultimately, understanding moral complexities empowers us to cultivate a life of intentional goodness. As we acknowledge our capacity for both light and darkness, we can make more informed decisions that align with our values. This empowerment emboldens us to resist complacency, advocating for a more just and compassionate world. By committing to awareness and intentional action, we become beacons of hope, demonstrating that while darkness exists within, the choice to choose goodness prevails, guiding others toward the same illuminating path.